Okay, so welcome to this one, and it's a little different. You clicked on a video about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though I normally cover the Carolina Panthers, but it's because my coaching breakdowns are finally fleshing out. This is Roll Coverage, home of the press conference breakdown. I am your host, Nick. Hopefully you are ready, because it's time to start rolling coverage. Let's go.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope.
They roll coverage.
Okay. First question will come from Rick Stroud.
Hey, Coach, I know you said last night that Rakim Jarrett would not be ready for the season. Is there anybody else that you know will start the year on IL? IR?
Not at this time. Chase Edmonds will probably start on it as well. Those two for sure. Everybody else is in play.
Okay. And then last night we saw some good play from some young guys like Antonio Greer and CJ Brewer and Tavier Thomas. How many of those guys helped themselves? Can you just speak to their play in particular in this game?
I thought they showed up. They flashed some big plays. They tackled hard. They had some big playability, and it's going to be a tough swing. So I think a few of them helped themselves, and a few of them helped themselves over the past couple of weeks.
Thanks, Coach.
Good thing. So that means that Todd Bowles is looking around for something to add to this team. Not really sure where the Bucs are in the waiver wire. I'm assuming it's going to be down low, but I'm expecting them again to look at just some offensive line depth, probably a pass rusher or a linebacker. I don't expect them to be in the Rams linebacker sweepstakes, so I'm expecting them to go somewhere else. Of course, I think you guys got a great wide receiver 3 in McMillan. I'm super pumped about that, and if you're not picking him up in fantasy, you are missing out. But Todd Bowles is building for the future. I like the new OC, and not only that, as a Carolina Panthers fan that just took your guys' OC and Dave Canales, he's now our head coach. Your former wide receiver coach, Brad Idzik, is now our non-play calling OC. To be honest, I think your offense might have gotten a little bit of an upgrade with guys that you guys brought in. And of course, the future of this team is bright. Baker is going to be the driving force of this. Of course, Mike Evans is going after another 1,000-yard season. So there's so much going on. I think a lot of the question marks are going to be on the defense as opposed to the offense this year, which is not normal, to be honest.
You guys are done with the games, but you have till Tuesday to make cuts. Do you know logistically kind of when you'll start telling players, at least? You might not announce them all until Tuesday.
We'll process it today. I think probably starting tomorrow. Then into Monday, we'll start making those decisions.
For you, I noticed the linebacker usage was a little bit odd. I didn't realize that Russell or Deloach were hurt, but you had almost all the reps went to Vi Jones and to Antonio Greer. Were they just dinged up last night?
Yeah, they were dinged up. They got dinged up last week. I'm pretty sore and kind of used everybody we had. We were kind of down in numbers, so one more guy would have went down. We probably would have been playing with another D lineman or a DB back there. So they were dinged up.
Okay, interesting one. Again, I think that we're going back to what I just said before. The defense is going to be a little bit of the issue. Injury bug seems to be hitting a lot of teams, with my Carolina Panthers especially. That'll be beneficial to all the Buccaneers fans out there. Tampa Bay is a place to build. Todd Bowles looks like he has a great opportunity moving forwards. As long as this offensive scheme looks good again, I think Bowles continues to keep his job and no hot seat here. Now, there is another team in the division, in the Saints, that has a much hotter seat. But I think at least for right now, Todd Bowles is good. And if you don't think that, make sure you put it in the comments below, because, man, I don't think anybody out there really thinks Todd Bowles is going anywhere.
Rick had asked as well, but you have so many of these undrafted rookie DBs that have flashed in camp. Are there any in particular that jumped out to you last night in terms of making plays and helping themselves?
Banks had some big hits. I know that for sure. The rest of them covered well. And it's going to be some tough decisions. A few made some flat splashes early. That's been consistent for us that we're really looking at. So hopefully we can get to keep one of them.
Thanks, Coach.
JC Allen.
Coach, just want to ask you about the wide receiver position there. Obviously, first look at Cam Johnson and Cody Thompson continue to do some things. Is that kind of room shaking itself out now that Rakim Jarrett, or are there still decisions to be made there?
Still some decisions to be made. Got a good look at Cam last night for the first time. He did some really good things, running and catching with the football. Cody's been consistent all preseason. Miller's shown some things as well. So, those three guys really got some decisions to make there.
And then how do you go about trying to get sneak guys on the practice squad? Guys like, Keenan Isaacs have been really good, and Tyreek Funderburk. If they don't make the 53 roster, like, how do you balance out trying to keep the guys and maybe with vested veterans that don't have to necessarily go through waivers and try to keep guys from being claimed by other teams who've shown a lot to you this offseason?
Well, the guys you probably want to practice squad, you probably release last. So hopefully with everybody doing cuts at the same time, it's hard to get a guy on the street, and you kind of go back with the guys that but it's going to be hard to get them through the practice squad, especially if they got a lot of tape. But every team has to deal with that. So I'm sure they have the same decisions to make, and they like a few guys too. So typically teams usually go with the guys they had in camp as opposed to teaching guys a new system and coming in unless they really see something. So, but the decisions that have to be made are going to be very tough.
And then as far as the quarterback, you guys kept two last year going into the season by necessity, had to bring up Wolford before he was claimed by another team. Do you envision going into the season with two quarterbacks and maybe Wolford back on the practice squad, or does that still need to shake itself out as well?
I'm pretty sure it'll shake itself out. We're leaning that way, but we haven't made final decisions. We have to weigh it against different positions. And it's not so much as the guys going against each other at the same position, but you also got to measure the strength of the last wideout versus the strength of the last outside backer or the last inside backer or the last offensive lineman or vice versa. So there's a lot of decisions to be made. So the competition is not just against the same position, but it's against other positions that might have value as well.
Okay, so then if that's the case, I feel like it's telegraphing. They're going to carry two. They're going to try and get one onto the practice squad just in case, and then, of course, try and figure it out from there. I don't see the point in running three. I think Baker's good enough. He doesn't really have a huge injury history from what I can remember. The offensive line is really, really good, so you really have to take props there. Baker's going to be protected. And again, you got three great wide receivers in McMillan, Godwin, and Evans. So I don't think it's as bad. I don't really see. But again, the NFL is also a crazy league where injuries happen all the time. I just feel like it's two quarterbacks, right? Not three. Three is too much.
Hey, Todd, wanted to get your take on a couple of third-year guys that have developed and shown some progress. Logan Hall made a nice tackle last night. What have you seen from him in terms of his development? And then also, second year at right tackle, Luke Edke just seems to be getting better and better for you there. If you can comment on those two players, what you've seen.
Both very tough, and they have the same things they need to do to get better. When they both use their hands, they're very, very good football players. Logan has length, Luke has length and toughness. They both have toughness. When they try to brawl and just use their bodies, they get in trouble technically. When they use their hands, they're very hard to stop.
Thanks, Todd.
Good thing to know. Can we send this clip to all the defenses that are going to play the Bucs? Make sure that he doesn't use his hands. That's a good one. That's a good little nugget for a team to go find.
Hey, Todd. Kyle Trask has been through 4 preseasons now without ever really seeing the field during the regular season. Could you just talk about his growth as a player from the first time you saw him?
Just from a maturity standpoint, adjusting to the different schemes and the playbook and being confident out there, making the right reads and playing, whether he's behind the first line, second line, or third line, he makes plays and he gets receivers open. He's not necessarily throwing to Mike and Chris all the time, but he's getting guys open. He's directing traffic. He's getting valuable experience. Sometimes you just run into, he played behind Brady. Now he's playing behind Baker. He just happen to have the unfortunate opportunity to go behind a couple quarterbacks, but we have a lot of trust in him. He really sees the game well. We would not have a problem playing him.
Okay, this is how I feel about Trask, okay? He's Jack Plummer from my Carolina Panthers, but maybe a little bit better. That's sad to say. That hurts me deep in here.
It's not unnerving at all to go into the season without any experience at backup quarterback?
Just because you're experienced doesn't mean you're good. You might know the playbook, but if you can't carry out the plays, it doesn't make it any better.
Thank you.
Wish we could bottle that clip up for my 2023 Carolina Panthers. Like, let's just put it on the shelf. So if you ever need to remember that season, that's what you need to hear. That clip right there, because that was a symptom of my team. Tampa's not going to have to deal with that. Tampa's going to have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, unless the injury bug just starts biting on them. And I don't see that happen.
Hey, Coach, obviously the new dynamic kickoff return rules are a big change this year, and obviously a lot of it has to do with roster composition. I know you've said throughout the summer, we'll see it as we go, but do y'all feel like you have more of an idea of what you want in terms of personnel when it comes to the kickoff returns?
Yeah, I think we do. I think we kind of know the direction we're heading in and the things we want to do when it comes to that. So we'll probably tweak roster-wise accordingly.
And then obviously you said last night, the preseason's all about totality, your overall body of work. But how much can a really good performance in that final game be a springboard for a player to maybe it says, hey, he's starting to get it, or, develop in the right fashion?
It's not just a good performance, it's doing the little things. You can make a big play and not do the little things right in a lot of other plays. It's the totality of what you're doing when you're out there on the field. If you make a splash play and you have 5 or 6 mental errors or technical errors somewhere else, that doesn't get blown out of proportion. That shows, you can't trust that person going into the game yet. Doesn't mean they didn't make a splash, but they still have some things to work on. So you got to weigh that as well.
Coach, I know the big emphasis going into the offseason was to improve the run game, right? You can't be last 2 years in a row. And we've seen it. That's just been glaringly better. How much of that is Liam Cohen and just, getting guys in the right position? Obviously, you addressed it, in the draft with Graham and Ben Bredesen and such. But how much credit does Liam Cohen deserve for making this run game work so quickly?
Well, he gets a ton of credit. Obviously, Carberry and Picucci do as well, all the offensive coaches, because the receivers block as well. And again, it's early, it's preseason, but structurally, they're playing faster. They're getting up to the second level. We got to continue that as the season goes. But structurally, right now, everything in place. Liam's he's a big credit for it.
And that's why I think the offensive side of it is going to be such a big X factor. If the offensive line picks up right where it was last year, then the Dave Canales narrative gets a little muted, which makes your division a little bit easier. You're truly just going up against the Falcons at that point. If you can beat out the Falcons, you could probably win the division. But at the same time, I think that Liam Cohen is going to have a big problem on his hands if he doesn't get this offense started early. And the one weapon I think that most people are underutilizing, especially in fantasy, is Rachaad White. Make sure you watch out, because I think this kid in this system is going to be amazing. And of course, if I'm wrong, make sure you clip this and tell me I'm wrong. Okay? I'll accept it. I don't really have a choice.
Hey, Todd, sorry, just to clarify on the question about how many quarterbacks, did you say you're leaning towards carrying 3 or carrying 2 at this point?
I said we had a decision and we know where we want to go. I didn't say we were leaning one way or the other, but I appreciate it.
We have time for a few more. We'll go to JC Allen.
Coach, you said you've been really comfortable with the depth you've had at outside linebacker throughout camp. Just with Braswell getting a sack and some solid pressure yesterday, and then with obviously Jose Ramirez's performance last week and Marquise getting consistent pressure, how comfortable do you feel, carrying those 6 guys in to the regular season?
Well, we haven't made a decision yet whether we take about 4 or 5 or 6, but all those guys made splashes in camp. I thought Braswell made great progress mentally from understanding the scheme. I thought Jose came a long way as far as understanding the scheme and making big splashes. And I thought Watts has gotten better, again, holding up on blocks, playing the run game. So all 3 got better technically as the weeks went on with Yaya and Joe out. And depending on how many we keep or who we keep and how we keep them, I think they'll help us.
Coach, talking about your specialists, I guess it goes without saying that you liked seeing that 51-yard field goal from Chase McLaughlin. Can you just talk about maybe your comfort level with seeing that one go through after a couple of unusual misses earlier in the preseason? And then Jake Camarda, it seems to be a little inconsistent as your punter. I know Nolan Cooney had a good night last night. Is that an area too where you're considering maybe making a switch at punter?
It's not an area that I'm very happy with right now, obviously, but Jake has to punt it better. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row where he didn't punt well. Chase came back around. We'll see about the punting situation or whether adding somebody to the practice squad, but we definitely got to get better in that area.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
All right, that's all we have. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, thank you, Coach Bowles, and thank you to the Tampa Bay Bucs fans that got to the end of this. Todd Bowles is such an interesting character, especially in this division. Raheem Morris, Dave Canales, Dennis Allen. There's, some opportunity there. I think Bowles is probably the best suited in this division. Dennis Allen's probably on his way out. Dave Canales needs to win 6 games. And Raheem Morris just needs to not have the wheels fall off. So I think that the Bucs can be poised to win the division. At the same time, I do love that he's like, man, I'm not happy with this punter. Not happy at all. But there's a good thing the waivers are coming up. There's going to be plenty of punters cut. And you're going to have your pick of the litter. But it looks like Todd Bowles overall hasn't really made a decision on the roster. Again, I'm still leaning the concern is going to be the defense, but that's just me. I know Todd Bowles runs the defensive side, but I feel like it's the personnel. It's going to be some missed here, missed there. The offensive line still for me is the biggest X factor, whether or not the offense is going to be able to do the same things that it did last year without its savant in Dave Canales. Now, obviously, you're bringing back Baker. You're adding McMillan, who I think is going to be amazing. And, of course, again, I'm a huge lover of Rachaad White. So you have so much. It's just putting foot to pavement and let's go and get ready for the season. My name is Nick, the host of Roll Coverage, the home of the press conference breakdown. Hopefully, you guys are going to come back for more episodes because I am ready to put more out. Expect the entire division to be covered on the regular, and of course, my Carolina Panthers covered in their entirety. Right here on Roll Coverage. Have a great rest of the day. Peace.